Welcome to Side Alpha Leadership, a podcast where leaders can share their experiences and discuss what leadership means to them. I'm your host, David Polikoff. Hello and welcome to this month's episode of Side Alpha Leadership. I'm your host, David Polikoff. On the phone with me again, I have my good friend, partner in crime, Sam Villani. Sam is a battalion chief in Montgomery County, and he is currently assigned to the 4th Battalion. So, Sam, welcome back to the show. And if there's anything new you want to say, go ahead and say it now. If not, we'll get right into it.
Yeah, man. Glad to be on. Glad to be on again. And I always enjoy these, so I'm excited for this. So, let's make it happen, man.
And Sam and I are both co-hosts with Frank Ritchie on the talk show for Fire Engineering, Politics, and Tactics. So you can catch out some of the things that we talk about over there. Small bit of politics, mostly tactics and strategies and stuff. But so today we want to talk a little bit about something that is difficult for most firefighters to talk about because, you know, we are the 911. We are the ones that come and when people are in need help, be it fire or EMS. But there's something that we discussed on this show before, and I think it bears more conversation because we're still finding that it's something that's struggling topic in the fire service, and that's, you know, mental health and watching out for your people and looking for the signs of things that they may be crying out for help, but maybe not verbally saying it. So I think that's a pretty good springboard. So Sam, you know, we talk about as chief officers, like I talked about online, people pound their chest and the first thing they say is, well, I take care of my people. You know, I shield them from upper management and I make sure that, nobody talks down to my people. They go through me and all that. And that's a lot of great talk. But, in real life, although there are some exceptions, management isn't screaming and carrying on at your people that often. But more so is if you're truly taking care of your people, are you really seeing your people outside of running incidents and maybe in the station? So, Sam, let's touch on that a little bit. So tell me some of your experiences and when you quote taking care of your people, going beyond shielding them from the senior staff and all that, but moreover their well-being. What are you looking for, and how do you help your people?
Well, yeah, when you're in their regular life, so take it to that 30,000 foot view. Well, 1/3 of our lives are spent in the firehouse, and some of us it's more than that. And when you're there for that 1/3, you've got to be present the entire time. Sometimes paperwork piles up. We all are loaded with special projects outside of our main job and operations. But you've got to get out there. We call it making the rounds in Montgomery County, but you got to get out there, see your people in the firehouse, and talk to them, and not just ask them how they're doing, but if you share enough about yourself with them, and this is something I've found great success with as a leader, sharing your experiences and what you've been through. And certainly I've been through some pretty difficult things, certainly with mental health, depression, anxiety, addiction, when they were handing out pain pills like they were candy, including, our occupational medical section was even prescribing them at one point. I went through a pretty difficult time with that. And sharing those experiences with your young folks that may or may not be struggling. If they are struggling, they're going to be more comfortable with talking to you about it because you've shared that with them. And if they're not struggling, when they get to that point, they'll remember, hey, Chief Villani opened up with me, and maybe I can talk to him about this. It sounds like he's kind of been through this before, and maybe he has a perspective on it. Maybe he can help me get help. And that's actually happened very recently, helping one of my guys in my battalion get right, getting him set up to go to the centers. And I can tell you, I can't say enough good things about the Centers for Excellence. And if you're in that situation where you're you can't get the negative thoughts out of your head. Those dark thoughts are really hard to push back when they're piling up. And sometimes you just get to that point where you're overwhelmed. And when you get to that point, it's not the end. There's not a finality. It's an opportunity for a beginning to get help. And I used to think that I could just talk to my buddies and I'd be okay. The problem with talking to your buddies is, and you should talk to your friends, confide in them, and that's what friendship is. But the problem is they don't know how to interpret those thoughts, and they don't know how to, like the professionals do, how to interpret those thoughts and provide the right tools for you to work through that stuff. So, like I said, I can't say enough about the Centers for Excellence that the IAFF runs. And I do want to say this too. I've had friends who reached out to the centers, and look, it's a very popular program, and they don't always have spots right away. And if you're in extremis, if you're in that part of your life where you feel like nothing's going right, and you feel like there's nothing you can do that's working, there are other programs similar to the Centers of Excellence all over the country that do an exceptional job as well. But the big thing is, I think in the fire service, the stigma of needing help, and saying that, it's okay to not be okay. I think the stigma has been reduced, and I think it is okay to say you're not okay. And I think more and more people, especially our younger folks, are accepting of that. And that's the beauty in the toughness of going through something like that, is that people are willing to get the help. And God, I can't tell you how many phone calls I've had. Just in the past year, 2 of my guys looking for bridges to jump off of, that kind of stuff. Like, that's serious, and you got to take it seriously. And they're calling you. They're not calling anybody else. They're calling you because they know, you know how to get them the resources. And that's another thing. If you are a chief officer or a leader in your organization, have those things in your phone. Have those things in your phone and have them bookmarked and be ready to act, because sometimes seconds count, that stuff. So
you hit on a bunch of things.
Yeah, sorry.
Exactly. No, and it's what we want. First and foremost, you talked about that phone call. As chief officers, it doesn't matter if you're a battalion chief in operations or if you're in administrative service or you're at the training academy. It doesn't matter. If your organization gives you a cell phone that they pay for, then as a leader in your organization, that phone stays on 24/7, 365, even when you're on vacation. And I know people might be listening to this going, oh, when I'm off, I'm off, and there's another battalion chief. You don't understand. If somebody is at the end of their rope and they've tied the knot and they're hanging on and they're looking for somebody to talk to and they call you, that is the last ditch cry for help. And if you're not there to answer that phone call, then you may never talk to them again. And I know it sounds dramatic, but it's true. As a chief officer, if you truly have said that you take care of your people and you talk to them and tell them the things that you've been through and that you're there for them, well, then you need to be there for them 100%. If you're going to be taking a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning from one of your guys that is, just at the end of the rope, you got to be there, and you need to work on getting them the help. And one of the other things that you said is you need to have that in your phone of who to talk to. Like, I know in Frederick, we have Natalie Bowers. I've had her on this show before. You can go back and look through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and all her information's in there. And she gave a bunch of links of places to go for help, websites, phone numbers, Center of Excellence, places like that. I have her in my phone. So if I have an issue with somebody that they need help, I can immediately put them on hold, call her, put the 2 phone conversations together, get those 2 talking, and know that she's going to give them the help they need. Montgomery County has somebody that people can talk to. But at the end of the day, they're calling you as their leader, as their battalion chief, as their captain, their lieutenant, good friend. You have to answer the phone. One of the things you said in the very beginning about the paperwork and admin work and stuff like that. Yeah, we spend a third of our life with our shifts. Paperwork is always there. The admin work is always there. But that's the thing. It's always going to be there. So if you don't take care of it right then and there, in lieu of going and sitting down and talking with the guys on your shift, just to take a pulse to see what's going on, then you're truly not taking care of your people. That paperwork will always be there. There may be some things that need to be done, right away. The chief might need it within the next shift. That just means that maybe you're staying up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Maybe you don't sleep that night. That's the burden of command. That's the burden of leadership. So you have to be there for your people first. Your admin and paperwork are going to come second. And then one of the final things that you said is the Center of Excellence has become so popular, and I say that in a good way, that people are using that resource, that it does get full. There are limited beds, but as officers, as chief officers, you need to know where to go to find out where someone can go and get the help they need. If the Center of Excellence isn't there, maybe there's something in another state, that we can get them to. Sam, you and I know somebody that who ended up not being able to hold on to their job, but and I say you, helped that person so many times to get them into resources and the things that they need. Ultimately, they chose not to, lead a healthy lifestyle, and they ended up losing their job. But you were there every single time, and you had the resources to get that person help. It has to be that way. So just because the Center of Excellence isn't able to take somebody, there are other alternatives that we need to make sure that we know about, and how to get in touch with, and how to get our people there. What do you say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Going back to the whole, the staying up late thing. I come home exhausted every shift, and it's not because of calls. Sometimes it is. It's because, once things wind down in the firehouse, and I'm not talking about after dinner. I'm talking about once the guys are starting to cycle into bed, trying to get some shut eye between runs. And as you very well know, Battalion 4 is a busy firehouse. 25, there's 15 of us there, and those rigs are out the door 24/7. The whole battalion took a shellacking last night. But when they're trying to cycle into bed to get rest, that's your time to retreat back to the office. And I know you turn on the music. You get some metal going and all that stuff. I'll listen to some music, or put a Getting Salty podcast on, or one of the ones. I'm a big FDNY buff, so I'm even a New York City history buff. I'll listen to the Bowery Boys and then get some good New York City history in, and that's in the background, and in the foreground is knocking out that stuff that maybe you think, at least when you first become promoted, I've got to do this stuff during the day and I've got to get to bed. No, I'm sorry. I don't. The guys know if I'm going to bed early, I'm probably sick, and that happens a couple times a year. I'm routinely up till 1 or 2 a.m. And it's not like I'm hard charging the paperwork. I'm dabbling in it, and like right now we're getting the office straight. So I'm painting a gold leaf helmet front Battalion 4 mural on a tiled canvas that we're going to hang on the wall. So I'll hit that for a little while. I'll go back and knock some paperwork out. I'll hit that for a little while. I'll go back and knock some paperwork out. And that's your time for that. During the day, when your folks are up and around, and I love after dinner, because I'll go in the watch office with them. I'll sit in there, shoot the breeze with them, and I'm not. They know it's literally that I miss being a firefighter. I miss being a fire officer. I miss being in the company, and they've accepted me with open arms on that shift at 25C, and I'll sit in that watch office, and it's no holds barred. Everybody's breaking chops and carrying on, and I love it. And I think they all know, something happens, they're having trouble with whatever, that they can come to me, and they know I got them. And they know I got them, not because I'm telling them that. I've never said it in an expectations email document. I've never said it to anybody. I take care of my people. What I do is I take care of my people. And the physical act of being present, picking up the phone, like you said, being available 24/7, 365. And I tell you, at home, having a strong wife is huge, because my wife is a saint, and she's the strongest woman I know. And I mean that. And she's also probably one of the toughest women I but having her at home and she understands. She understands. She's a chief's wife, and she understands what that means, and she's fully supportive of it. Like I said, semi-recently, I'll just, I don't want to get into specifics, but semi-recently, I had some guys over at my house. One of the guys was struggling. Another guy had been through it already, and we got him on the phone and got the process started to get him help. How many people can say they've had somebody at their home, hey, this guy's jammed up. We're gonna cook breakfast and talk about it. That's the stuff you've got to do. It's not becoming a chief is not passing the test, scoring well, and just putting the cross bugles on. It's so much more, and it's not just running the incidents. There's so much involved in it, and if you really do it right, it can be exhausting. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, but at the end of the day, it's very rewarding knowing that your guys know that you have their back 100%, and God forbid they go through something tough, that you're there for them, and you know how to handle it. I'm not a therapist. Like I said, I've been through a lot of stuff. I've pulled myself out of the ground in a year and a half sober. I'm very proud of that. A lot of my younger guys, I've seen my guys go through it, and I more and more of these guys are taking the sober route because they know what the alternative is. DWIs, getting in fights. They know, alcohol is not a solution for dealing with the stuff you see on the job, the PTSD side of it. It makes it way worse. It makes it horrible. And that's how I think, not how I think, it's how I know a lot of folks end up with, suicidal. You're so depressed, you're so overwhelmed, and then you take this depressant and you're taking a lot of it. And you get to that point where it's like, you're not in your right mind. And that's when the horrible things happen. But communicate with your folks what you've been through, knowing you're there for them, knowing that, them knowing that you're there for them, and then knowing the resources to contact, and you have those in speed dial, and those people know you. They know they're expecting calls from you. That all matters. And I take it so seriously, my job as a battalion chief, and it's been the joy of my life to lead those men and women in my battalion, and not just lead them, but be there for them.
I agree with everything you said. It's important for people to understand that if they want to step in the arena of being a chief, it's not about being in charge of incidents and fires and all that stuff. There's so much more to it. You and I both know a firefighter, and I've had him on this show. Now he's an officer who was struggling, and we got him the help that he needed. But the one thing that I want to say, anybody that's listening to this show, and if you're struggling or you need help, don't think that you are not worth it. You have worth. You and I both know this one particular gentleman. He was having a hard time. He was in a hard way. He got the help that he needed. He took the test, passed. He's a lieutenant. He's a pretty strong dude, and I've had him on the podcast before. He turned his life around. He's made a great name for himself in the fire service, and
absolutely,
it looks dark, when you're in the space and you're in that place, but there are people and there are organizations that are here to help get you through the darkness, and to show you that not only do you have worth, but you have so much to contribute to the fire service, to your brothers and your sisters, to your family. And it's hard to see when you're in it, but when you come through it, you are not only are you a better person for it, but you have that experience, and now you can do what all firefighters do. You take that experience and you pass that on to somebody else who may be struggling, and you can truly sit them down and say, I was where you are, and here I am now, and you can be there too, and I'm going to help you. That is the start of what a good leader is, and one of the attributes. So don't ever give up. Don't think you don't have worth, because you do. And and there are so many different things out there. To all you have to do is just reach out to one of your trusted confidants, one of your friends, your chief officer, and just tell them you need help. And that's all it has to happen, because as firefighters, that's what we do. We want to help people. We want to do things for people. And one of the other things you said is that 100%. Your spouse has to be understanding. As being a chief officer, you have certain responsibilities. You're always on 24/7. You're always on. You're never off, even when you're on vacation. You are always, that phone is always there, and my wife knows, and another strong woman, she knew what she was getting into, and when she first met me, and she's still with me, but understanding that when the phone rings and somebody's having a problem, she knows that I'm there to help, and gives me everything that I need in order to make sure that the person on the other end of that phone gets what they need, even if that means me getting in my car and driving to wherever they are and physically taking them someplace where they need to be. That's part of the job. So yeah, you have to
Yeah.
have a strong support system for yourself. And you and I have married strong women that understand where we are, and they also keep us in check with our shit, so we don't get too
Yeah,
full of
they do.
ourselves. So they make sure that we don't, our heads don't get too big. One of the things you talked about is, with those long hours. Now that I'm working in Frederick, I'm on day work, so I get in the morning, and I still turn the music on. I try not to turn it up too loud, because it's not everybody's a uniformed employee that's up there, so I don't want to bother people with my music. But I've been watching a lot of MASH lately, and most people that know me know I watch MASH all the time, so I can get that on Hulu, so I can watch some MASH while I get my paperwork taken care of. But nope, still the same thing. Somebody calls my phone, they're having an issue, or even if corporation chief, I had a corporation chief from Frederick call me up and said he had a gentleman, one of his volunteers was having a problem, and he needed some guidance, and got the information right to that fire chief. He relayed that information to his volunteer, and got him the help that he needs. So that's one of the other things that people need to understand is, when you're part of a combination system, meaning career and volunteer, everything that the career people have, health wise, mental health wise, you as a volunteer are entitled to that as well. It's not just for the career people, it's for everybody. The county government is paying for those programs, those people, and it's for everybody in the fire service. It's not just a career thing. So they need to understand that. So I get off my
Yeah,
soapbox, but
absolutely.
people just need to understand
Yeah.
that you got to be there for your people, and your people need to understand that you, as a chief officer or a captain or a lieutenant, are there for them, and the only way they know that is for you to actually, like they say, walk the walk and talk the talk. It's one thing to say you're there for your people, but to truly show, and it takes time for them to understand and to trust you, that they can confide in you if they have a problem. And then once that bond, that trust is set, then they're going to come to you for all kinds of things, and you need to be prepared to guide them and help them any way they can. A lot of times they just want to be heard, but you should be able to sense if something's off. So let's talk a little bit about it. What are you looking for when you walk into a station when you're doing your rounds? It's one of the things that I miss, with my job. I don't get to do the rounds, but when you go in, and what are some of the things that you're looking for to find out, is everything kosher, or is there something that's not quite right? And how do you hone in on that? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a while, and again, you're new. Let's say you're new to a shift, a station, a battalion, whatever. It takes a while for you to feel your folks out and know what their baseline is, right? So I've been there long enough, and know most of the folks, certainly the ones that are a little more senior in my battalion, and I knew them before I got to Battalion 4C, and I know their baselines. I know how they are on calls. I know how they are in the firehouse. I know how they are socially. And when it's if you take the time, and again, it's an investment. You take the time, your people, and guess what? It's fun too. By the way, this is I talk. I don't want to. I want to make sure everybody realizes, like, Even if it's when you're leading off, it's like, man, this is a lot of work. Like, do they really want to see me this often? Do they really want to talk to me? Do they really want me to? Yes, 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 and yes. And guess what? It's very rewarding to do it because we're social beings. We're in the fire service. Like it's like a giant fraternity. And you're that social element when you become a chief. It's like I used to think, in the old school, chiefs were kind of like that. Like you're taking a step back and you're letting the company officers run their company and that kind of stuff. But it's 2023. Mental health mental health issues are pervasive, and mental health is a huge topic on the job, and it takes us all. The captains, lieutenants, master firefighters, technicians, whatever you want to call them, your senior men and women in the fire and on the shift, they can't do it alone anymore. And before, 30, 40 years ago, maybe even closer, 20 years ago, those things were still handled to an extent, but I don't think we certainly didn't have the education about mental health. And I think things have gotten worse. And it's not necessarily the job's gotten worse. It's just society right now. It's the immediacy of society. We're bombarded with stuff. Think about like an ad you saw in 1980 and an ad you see today. It's almost like, I almost feel like I'm going to seize half the time with how fast things transition. And society's like that. It's sped up. Life has sped up, and it's a culture and a society of immediacy. And that is what has changed the fire service. The calls haven't gotten worse. The people haven't changed. People are still very selfless, devoted to the job, very consummate professionals when the bells ring. I don't think the calls have necessarily gotten worse. I think it's harder to deal with the gravity of the job when everything happens so fast, and it's almost like you can't get a frickin' break. And that's why it takes everybody. That's why, as a chief officer, I know my folks' baseline, and I can tell you, I've seen the changes, like where a member of the shift is having issues and squaring off with the lieutenant or captain, and I know that's not them. That's not who they are. I've known them for however long I've known them, and then that's kind of like your ears perk up a little bit, your spidey senses tingle, whatever you want to call it, and and then you just got to find the end to talk to them, and sometimes it's just you're not following them around the firehouse waiting for it. It's like literally you're just kind of like, okay, I see something's not right here. This is not who this person is, and get your opener. And the way you get your opener is, again, by being present, being around, being available to them, and then pulling them aside and saying, hey, man, notice you're real. Notice things are different, man. Is everything okay? You want to talk about it? I've been through this kind of thing. I've been that way before. You gotta let them know that that you understand because you've been through it, and also that you're willing to listen, and that's when you got to shut your mouth and let them talk. And 9 times out of 10, it's that change. And sometimes it's not necessarily something in the fires. You see that change, and don't be fooled. Sometimes the change has nothing to do with who they're working with. It has everything to do with home. And that's one of the recent firefighters I've helped. It's the stuff at home that has made that's what's pushed him over that edge to where he needs the help, because the job's busy. That's not going to change. Society's coming at you 100 miles an hour, and then you add this extra thing, and it's like the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back. Like you see that change, and you just got to let them talk about it, and they'll tell you, and they might not tell you. They might tell you in a roundabout way. They might talk in circles about it, but at that point, okay, it's time. Let's talk about it. And that's when you get the process. And sometimes it's literally like they break down, and you're like, okay, I got you, man. I know exactly what to do here. Let's do it. Let's get you the help. And it's worth it, man. It's so worth it. It's worth the investment in time in your people. It's worth being exhausted at the end of the day. I come home. I have a 2- and 5-year-old daughter at home. I come home dragging ass in the morning, And it's, again, another joy of my life coming home and they're at the back door waiting for me. And, they get me through that off-going day because otherwise I'd probably just have to go to bed and sleep it off. Um, so yeah, it's all worth it. It's worth it, and it takes a lot. It takes being present, and you really got to take the job seriously.
Yeah, I think actually I know, and I had the benefit of doing this. You spend time in the ranks, and what I mean by that is you have people that their ambition is to just shoot through the ranks as quick as possible because they want, whether it's extra pay or they want the glory of being an officer or whatever it is. But the problem that you run into is that you didn't spend enough time in the ranks to know the job, but more importantly, b, people knowing who you are. You know, I was fortunate that I spent quite a bit of time in each rank as before I got promoted. So by the time I made battalion chief, people knew who I was. I had been on the job for over 20 years when I made battalion chief, and so people knew who I was, and they knew pretty much about me. What I did, as an officer. So when you have somebody that has shot up through the ranks and they get to that lieutenant captain's position and they've only got 6 years on the job, and you're looking at that person, you have no idea who they are. And the chances are is that the people that they are now in charge of or whatever shift, they don't know who they are. I'm not saying that you need to stifle your career, but what I am saying is this particular job, you need to spend time in the ranks to learn the job, but to also know and learn the people. I've said it 1,000 times when I have this podcast is we don't do a good job training our officers to be officers. A lot of that has to be on the job experience. Well, if you're shooting through the ranks pretty quick, you're not getting that on the job experience. So my advice to the generation that's coming in now is spend the time in the ranks, learn the job, learn the people, educate yourself. And then as you move forward, that's going to pay dividends, especially when it comes time to when you're in that authority position, that leadership position, whether you're a lieutenant or a captain or a battalion chief. People are going to know who you are, and you're going to be able to talk to them. They're going to be able to talk to you. One of the things you talked about is the call types. Yeah, I think that the call load has definitely increased. People
Yes,
are calling
yeah,
911 for everything, so you don't get a break. Even the slower stations that we considered slow in Montgomery County are running calls. So
yeah,
they're getting that lack of sleep. They're eating quick, probably not well. So that all plays a part into your mental well-being. So we are getting a lot more calls coming at us. We are seeing some pretty bad things. We see, the drug addiction issue is rampant everywhere. Nobody's safe. Even in small town middle America, the drug issue is rampant. Just about everybody knows somebody who has OD'd or died from illegal or prescription painkillers or fentanyl or whatever. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of kids that are caught in the middle of this stuff. So that really wears on you. So as a battalion chief, you really have to key in on your people. One of the things that I always did, if I would hear a call go out and it involved a pediatric, like if it was a trauma or a pediatric cardiac arrest, immediately I would be listening to that call to find out what they had. And if it was a true, pretty bad call that involved a pediatric, I was on the phone to peer support right away, letting them know what's going on and letting them know that if they could just kind of mosey their way down to that particular station just to check to make sure they're okay, to do that. A lot of times,
yeah. I do
yeah,
the same thing.
yeah,
Absolutely.
firefighters, they'll try to hold stuff in, and it's good to talk about. Sometimes you don't want to talk about it. Sometimes we deal with stuff in our own way on our shift with dark humor and things like that. We've talked about that before. I remember, I'd say probably about 2 or 3 months ago, they had a pediatric cardiac arrest, which was a true cardiac arrest in Frederick, and Montgomery County units responded. It was on the line, came in, and the medic from the specific station from Montgomery County upgraded the ambulance, and they went to the hospital. And I called the battalion chief in Montgomery County, say, I just want to give you a heads up. This is what's going on. You may want to go in and check in on your people. I'm not trying to tell you how you do your job, but I just wanted to throw that out there. They're very appreciative of that. They didn't realize, and they started the process. They went and talked to people or talked to their people and made sure the peer support knew. So that's all part of taking care of your people. That's also all part of spending time in the ranks, knowing what to look for. And again, the call load, we're being bombarded with calls. One of the things that I did when I would go on my rounds, I would always go into the firehouse and I'd find the captain or the lieutenant and just chit chat with them real quick before I sat down with the guys. Hey, how's everything going? Anything I need to know about? Any big things going on? Any issues? And they could kind of give me that. That kind of cliff note version of how the shift's doing, if they have a problem with somebody or if they're having an issue with something. And then I go down and just kind of sit down and just talk to the guys. Hey, what's going on? Hey, guys, running any good calls? Blah, blah, blah. And then that way you kind of can lay eyes on everybody and see how everybody's doing. And then if you get, like you said, your spidey senses start tingling or something just doesn't seem right, maybe you pull that officer aside and say, hey, what's going on with so-and-so? He's not acting like he normally acts. And how do I know how he normally acts? Well, again, I spent time in the ranks, so I know these people. Especially in your battalion, you really have to know your people. I know battalion chiefs that I've taught with over the years that they get to know their people, the name of their spouse, their kids, birthdays. That's a lot to remember, and I have a hard time remembering people's names. But it's important to know at least your people that you're in charge of to make sure that they're okay, right?
Yeah. And at least, if you're, so I had Bob Foss with me yesterday doing his mentoring for bump up for the battalion chief bump up program. And, he was talking, and I think he does something pretty cool. He sends cards from the shift to spouses, for birthdays, for their kids for birthdays, that kind of thing, holiday cards, and it's from the shift. He handwrites them, and sends them from the shift to that person. And he's got that level of detail with his folks. And as a battalion chief, sometimes it's hard because you've got a battalion of 60 or 70 people like we do. But if you're present enough and you're visiting enough, and you talk to them enough, you're going to know that they have kids. We went to 21 yesterday, and one of the guys here has a new kid at home. Hey, how's the baby doing? That kind of thing. And that's the opener in. And thankfully everything's going well. And, we have that new parental leave thing where they get 12 shifts of parental leave paid for by the county. That is so awesome. And I wish it was there when I had Lana and Leela. I wish it was there. But he's using that, and things are going real well. And you get to know him at least enough to know, hey, they've been off with an injury, a family member's passed, they have a new kid at home, they've got some challenging situations at home. They're just coming off injury, or they're about to go out on injury, or they got injured and they just came through. One of my captains just had a procedure on his elbow the other night. They found 2 torn tendons. They didn't think it was that bad. He's going to be off for most of the summer. But keeping in touch with them. Hey, how you doing? You need anything? That kind of thing. It works both ways too. They have to know that it's okay to reach out to you. And, I know people, more than a few leaders who are like, I don't want to hear from them unless it's something serious. Look, I'm, again, like you said, 24/7, 365, even if it's not serious, even if it's just talk about something, minor or trivial, or just shooting the breeze. Especially my captains and lieutenants and our drivers, we call them master firefighters. Some people call them technicians or EVDs or whatever you call them, chauffeurs. Those folks have my phone number and know they can call me, and know if I don't have the answer, I know who to call to get the answer. And even if it's something trivial or some, hey, what do you think about that? Right now, it's the big talk in the firehouse is who's going to be the next fire chief. We have an acting fire chief right now, and they're in the process of finding a new person to be our fire chief. What do you know? And it's one of those things, and it's just, it's like anything else, that kind of stuff. It's just the facts, and I don't have any facts. I don't pretend or pretend to know who the next fire chief's going to be, or who even's in the process. And you know how the rumor mill gets, man. It's pretty crazy. You'll hear, oh, such and such put in to be the fire chief, and then you reach out to them, and I didn't put in to be the fire chief. And then usually it's like, oh, that's a bummer, man, because you'd be a really good one. But even if it's the little things, if they trust you enough to reach out for the little things, they're going to trust you enough to reach out for the big things, and that's huge.
Yeah, if you're not there for them when they're reaching out, for the little things, they're testing the waters. They're definitely, like you said, they're not going to be there to talk to you about things that they really should be reaching out and getting help for. Again, I think that people listening to this, they understand. It's not just talking about being there for the people, being there for your people, but it's actually showing that you're there for your people by your actions, not just by your words. And once you develop that reputation that hey, Chief Alani is he doesn't mind when you call him at home if you got an issue. Go ahead and give him a call. I can see something's going on. Call Battalion Chief Alani. He'll put you in the right direction. He'll get you the answers. Or, hey, I know so and so's struggling, and he's too proud to reach out. But maybe when you're around, you might want to pull him aside and just say, hey, is everything going okay? And you can initiate that conversation, and that's huge when your shift trusts you enough to reach out to you to help a fellow firefighter. That's huge.
Yeah.
And that has to be that way. When you accept the position of a leader in your organization, everything else goes with it. You just can't pick and choose. And if you decide that you're going to be the type of person that is, well, when I'm off, or you can't bring your home stuff to work. You got to leave that at home. You got to be here 100%. That's just not the way it works.
No.
We come to work, and,
yeah.
and the things that happen at your home, you carry with you to work. You just can't turn it off. It doesn't work that way. So you have to, understand that people are going to bring stuff to work. And firefighters, especially, are very private. They don't want to reveal what's going on. I remember, I guess it was probably about six or 7 years ago, I had hurt my neck, and I didn't tell anybody. I took off probably about a month of sick leave. That was when I was working in the relief spot, so I was seeing different shifts all the time, and finally somebody did reach out to me and said, hey, man, it doesn't look like you've been at work for the last month. Is everything all right? And I said, yeah, I hurt my neck, and, I'm taking some time off and seeing a doctor and all. Hey, you need anything? They reached out to me. It was a captain that actually reached out to me to make sure that I was okay. But I can tell you firsthand, we're very private. I don't want people knowing my business. Then, of course, you have the other firefighters out there that want everybody to know your business. And, but for the most part, we internalize and we keep a lot of things in, and it's not good. You need to be able to be humble enough to reach out and ask for help, but also be a true leader to be able to give the help. Ask somebody, do they need help? And I'm here for you if you need it, type of thing. So I think that I think we covered that pretty well.
Yeah.
But it's important that people understand in their organizations, what do you have at your disposal? Do you have those numbers in your phone where you can call them 24/7? Do you have the information for the different things that your people may need depending upon what they're going through? Do you have that information at your fingertips? And if the answer is no, then my challenge to you is to go and get that information, get it typed up on a piece of paper or whatever it is, laminate it, and keep it in your vehicle. Take a screenshot, keep it on your phone, and then once you have a nice little package of all that stuff, share it. share it with the other battalion chiefs, share it with the other captains. So now everybody knows. So if something happens, we have this huge net that we can capture somebody and give them the information that they need so we can give them that help. A little goes a long way, but definitely
Yeah.
need to be probing your organization and find out what do we have. And if you don't have something and you think you should have something, that's where you need to get with your union officials and just say, hey, Montgomery County has this or Frederick has this. How do we go about getting that? What can we do to get that? How can we
Yeah.
bargain for that? I think it's huge that Montgomery County actually gives you guys 12 weeks of parental leave. I was fortunate; I had plenty of sick leave saved up, so I took 3 months off for each kid. But to be able to have that 12 shifts worth of leave to be able to take care of your significant other, take care of the newborn, and get the house righted so when you come back to work, you are at work 100%, knowing that you've gotten everything taken care of at home. And sometimes you don't need to take all 12 shifts. You can probably split it up if that's the way it still works in Montgomery County. You take
It does, yeah.
3 or 4 shifts, 5 shifts, and then you come back to work, and then maybe you have to take 1 or 2 shifts, but you get up to 12. So kudos to Montgomery
Yeah,
County. I would assume that the union bargained for that, or did the county just come out and say we're going to do this?
I think county government said across all agencies we're going to provide leave for paid leave for folks to take care of their kids, and with us, I don't know if the union bargained for it this way or not, but you have the first year to use that leave, so it doesn't have to, like you said, it doesn't have to be the 12 shifts starting when your child's born. It can be hey, I need a couple shifts here and a couple shifts there. I've got a good support network at home. They don't need me at home every shift right now. But for that first year, hey, listen, I've got these 12 shifts and I don't have to dip into my leave to be able to be home and be present with my family when they need me with the newborn. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, kudos to Montgomery County and to the county council and the county executive. Probably thought I'd never say that, for getting that for their people. So, my hat's off to them. So, changing gears a little bit, let's talk about some calls that we've run. I know you've had a couple fires under your belt. I know that Battalion 2 has been burning the crap out of some stuff. It looks like they had like a mega mansion on fire a few weeks back. Were you on that one? Was that Battalion 4 running that, or was that 3 and 2?
No, but I got to go down and back Rob up on Elm Avenue in Tacoma Park. They had a basement job, so everybody's up listening to the fire in 30s area. They got there. It was front to back, side to side, and I tell you, it's pretty cool. Two veteran battalion chiefs were on that call, and you're listening to it. This is a huge house, and they didn't call for anything greater than the rapid intervention dispatch. Well, the second chief on that call relieved me the next morning. He was working overtime, and I said, I know there's a reason. What was your guys' thought process on that? And he said, look, man, that thing was well off to the races when they got there. And by the time we got a water supply in place, we didn't need the extra people. We had enough hose lines. We had enough. It's all either elevated master streams or portable master streams, whatever. And we knew we had it with the personnel we had on the scene. We didn't need to call for that extra. We didn't need to call for. You think when you're leading off as a new chief, you see something like that. I got to call for a second alarm. I'm going to need that many people, and maybe it's like really hot, and you might need. So that's the whole thing where experience counts. Knowing okay, it's very hot or very cold. I'm going to need to rotate personnel. I'm going to need that help. But it wasn't a hot night. They had it. And I'm like, that's pretty cool because they weren't just going by what you normally do. They were actually working, thinking chiefs, and they used their brain and their experience, their knowledge and their experience to make a decision, and it worked out for them. And it was fortuitous because we ended up with 2 other working incidents in the county at the same time. And thankfully, the volunteer chief and volunteer fire contingent was in service and were able to provide us that depth on the bench because everybody was committed. But like I said, I ended up on Elm Avenue as the second chief. Got to go in. Rob assigned me as the incident scene safety officer, so I got to go in and meet her. And and got to go and see where the fire was and talk to the fellows that put it out, and that was pretty cool. So that was a really busy night for Montgomery County. It was a week and a half ago. But yeah, so it was cool, man. And I hadn't been the incident scene safety officer on a call in a very long time, so I get out the old MX 6 meter and do the monitoring and start putting my mind and mindset into motion as the scene safety officer and not as the second chief or as a division or group supervisor.
Yeah, that you touched on something that's pretty interesting. Is I saw the pictures and by all means, this was a huge mansion in Potomac. So it was well involved when they got there. They knew they weren't going to be committing a cruise inside. So instead of pulling the trigger for that second alarm, which would have depleted a lot of resources in that corner of the county, it's just like, hey, you know what? We've got a first alarm and a RID here. Nobody's going to be inside, so now I've got the rapid intervention company there. I can put them into play, and we can just handle it how we're going to handle it, and didn't deplete those resources out of that bottom part of the 2nd Battalion. So hats off to those guys. That and that's experience. That's based on the experience, spending time in ranks, knowing what's going to what you're going to need, what exactly you're going to do. Are you going to end up calling for second alarm and then stage them? And now those people are sitting there. Next thing you know, across the county in the 1st Battalion, they're banging out a house fire over in Tacoma's area, and now you're pulling from units that you would pull from. They're not there. So yeah, kudos to those guys. Now you had what else did you have? I've seen a couple of fires. You had a couple of. I know Bethesda had a fire. They had fire through the roof the other day, and even Fredericks. They've been having a couple of fires. We had a pretty decent fire in Brunswick a few weeks back. Ended up taking out one house pretty much entirely and spread to 2 other houses on the Delta and Bravo side, and
Wow.
Those guys did an amazing job getting that thing covered right away, getting the water supply up, and keeping the damage to pretty much the area of origin or the house of origin. The other 2 houses did take some damage, but yeah. So I mean, fire is definitely been busy. Been doing some stuff. You can keep the brush fires, that's for sure. But Canada's taking a lot of that for us right now. But yeah. So it's been pretty interesting. We've had like I said, we've had a couple of fires in Frederick. A lot of outside-in fires that guys rolled up on the scene right away and recognized what they had, deployed hand lines, and cut that fire out. Got it inside. Once they got the bulk of that outside taken care of, they were inside, handled the business. So again, all based on experience and what you're seeing, giving those good on-scene reports, keeping your situational awareness in focus, and being able to put the crews where they need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think next to lithium-ion battery fires, the outside-in fires, I think it's like a trend. We've run quite a lot of those too. It's everybody's got a deck, everybody's got barbecue grills. You got people that go outside. The days of people smoking inside are kind of gone. People go out and crush a dart on the back porch or whatever, put it in the flower pot, and they wake up 2 hours later, the back of their house is on fire. And that fire in Potomac, I'm pretty sure was outside in, started outside in. It got the whole house. It's kind of a trend, and you hear it more often than not especially if it's a fire that they get there and it's pretty well advanced. It's middle of the night. It's been burning for a little while before they realize it. Their smoke detectors start going off, and they look, and there's it's orange on the back of their house. They're like, holy crap! And by the time we get there, it's gotten into the attic, maybe gotten into the exposure. So those are wicked fires, man. Those outside-in fires can be really wicked. It's nice when you have the saves. It seems like we only have the outside-in fire saves over the holidays because there's enough people home maybe to notice it earlier. Maybe it happens during the day because they're cooking during the day. I don't know, but those things can be pretty wicked, and it seems like a pretty big trend, certainly regionally.
And for the new officers that are out there, understand that not only is it imperative that you give a good on-scene report, letting the crews know what you have that are responding, but that 360 is super important. It's vital. It's it's every bit as important as getting a line deployed quickly. Being able to see what's going on the backside of the house. If you get to the backside of the house and you see that a majority of the fire is on the exterior of the house, use the judgment to get that line around to the back and cut that fire off. Don't be afraid that people are going to view you as a coward or not a good fireman because you didn't go in through the front door and try to fight that fire. You have to take care of the fire at the root before you can get inside and take care of what's left. If you don't take care of what's outside, you'll never put the fire out. So for the new officers out there, that 360 is vital. You have to get to the rear. You have to see what's going. You have to verbally on the radio report what you have, and you have to find out, do I have a basement? And if I do I have access to it? You have to put your eyes in the basement. If it's a basement window and that's all you have, there's no exterior entrance into the basement, then you got to get on your hands and knees and look through that basement window to make sure that you don't have fire on the lowest level, because you're asking for trouble going through that front door and you didn't check the basement and you fall through the floor. We have no way to get you out. It's going to be very time consuming. Take that extra time, do that 360, give that information, and then fight the fire accordingly. I mean, I can't say more about that. You have to give those good on-scene reports. You have to do a 360. And hey, while you're doing your 360, notice where the utilities are. I've told people, hey, did you see a gas meter? Yep. Did you turn it off? And it's like a blank stare. In the hot wash. Why didn't you turn it off? I didn't think about it. Hey, man, if you carry a spanner wrench in your coat or a pair of pliers, shut the gas off right away if it's a working fire, and let the chief know, hey, I had gas in the rear. I got the gas shut off. That's one less thing to worry about, and then you can get in and take care of the power and all that stuff. But yeah, when you're doing your 360, you should be looking high, low, left, right, looking for utilities, looking for any things that are going to hamper you in the back, like a pool, fences, Rottweilers, kangaroos, whatever. Make sure that you are relaying that good information. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, absolutely. We fight them at the lowest level. That's the easiest way to say it. We fight fire at the lowest level. If the lowest level is the second floor, great. But if it's the basement, like you said, got to get in there and start. That's where you're starting it. That's where you're starting your attack.
Yeah, and it's even with garden apartments. I mean, crying out loud, you could look at it and have 2 in the front and 3 in the rear, and you got smoke showing from the front. And you're going through the front door looking to where the fire is, and it's on the terrace level down below, where you have exterior entrances to those apartments on the terrace level. You got a lot of those in Aspen Hill, where the entrance is to the rear, and that's where the front door is. If you want to call it a front door, that's where they get in and out of their apartment. Is through there. You're not going to be able. You're going to be fumbling around in the stairwell trying to find out where all the smoke's coming from. You're not going to be able to get to the apartment. So, take the time, do your job, know your policies. But by all means, when you're running a structure fire, good on scene report, verbalized on the radio without screaming, and also we don't need adjectives, right? We don't care how heavy the fire or the smoke is. And then we also need to know what that rear looks like. That incident commander. It's imperative that we know what that rear looks like. So.
Absolutely.
We're at the 1 hour mark, Sam. So again, man, I really appreciate you coming on here. I love talking stuff with you, keeping up with what's going on in my old, as I say, my alma mater in Montgomery County. But it's just good to be able to just talk to peers and see what's been happening lately and some of the things that they've been bumping up against and just get it down on the podcast so people can benefit from it, and they do. I get emails, I get messages, I get the Instagram messages and things like that, and the Facebook messages of liking stuff, asking questions. I've got people now going to the email and wanting to be on the show, and so I've just got to kind of weed through all that stuff. But the guests that we have on here are great. Sometimes it's the same people a lot, but those people have a lot to contribute, people that I respect, and you're one of them, Sam. So thanks for coming on. And
man, it's always a pleasure. You were you and Kelvin Thomas were like pretty much my number one mentors coming up, and really cemented my decision to become a chief officer. And I couldn't be more appreciative of both of you. And both have a tremendous amount of respect for in our department. Obviously, KT's taken up, and you've gone on to promote up, and with another jurisdiction who we may as well be Montgomery County Extended. We're that close, you know. And we love Frederick County. I know Frederick County has a love for us too. It's just, yeah, man, I appreciate it, and I love coming on here, man. So thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely, Sam. And just one thing I can say about Frederick County is they'll tell you we are Frederick County. We're not Montgomery County North, but no, we do. There is a lot of mutual aid partners, a lot of mutual aid stuff that we do. We work hand in hand. Our policies are very similar now. So we're all working pretty quickly on a lot of these fires that we're running on the line that these crews are going in. It's pretty seamless. So with that, again, Sam, appreciate you being on the show. And until then, be safe and, throw some fire our ways.
Right on, man.
All right. Take care.
You too, brother. Thanks.